Indonesia is an archipelago where most of the country's industrial areas are located on the coast. Although unfortunately the public's concern with marine debris and pollution does not mirror Indonesia's image as a maritime nation. According to reports taken by the National Secretariat Coordination Team for Marine Debris Management, around 521,550 tons of waste ended up at sea in the year 2020. Out of that number, around 12,785 tons were generated by maritime activities. If nothing's done, there will be more marine debris than fish within Indonesian waters by 2050. This dire situation prompted Swietenia Puspa Lestari to form a movement called the Divers Clean Action. The organization is a youth-led environmental NGO working with the Indonesian government, the private sector, and other NGOs in implementing national as well as regional programs. This includes scientific research of marine debris and community development. Their mission is to promote clean seas free of marine debris and pollution.
I really love seeing movements like that, really, and we need more movements like this. And today we talk about environment because today is the Earth Day, right. And today we're going to talk to a representative from the Diverse Clean community, right?
That's right, and the key for me from that little piece that we just saw is youth-led. And I believe that, the future of our Earth is in the hands of the youth and the people who are going to be living here a lot longer than us. Exactly. And unfortunately, it took me a little longer than it should have to be more conscious about our environment and our Earth after I had kids, and then realizing, wow, I can't leave them like just junk everywhere for them to live in. And then slowly became a little bit more conscious, just a little bit of my own personal experience coming from a country where things like recycling and reusing, all that is such a common thing. We don't even think about it anymore. Yep. Someone will glare at you if you put a plastic bottle in the wrong bin.
Give you dirty looks.
Right, exactly. And then moving here, 2 decades ago, I was pretty appalled at how nothing was being done at all. And all the progress that we've made over the last 20 years, I can certainly appreciate it, but that's just the first step. We still have a long way to go. And you're right. We're now connected with someone in conjunction with Earth Day. And this person has spent the past 5 years contributing to environmental preservation, namely cleaning maritime debris. So let's have a little chat with her now. Online with us is Swietenia Puspa Lestari, the founder of a movement called Divers Clean Action. Good morning, Tenia.
Hello, good morning, Tenia. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about this issue that is super, super important. We know that you established this community or this NGO 5 years ago. Usually, like as humans, we usually create a certain movement because something happened in our lives. So what bothered you at that time that made you want to establish this NGO?
Thank you, first of all, for having me here. To answer that question, it's actually a unique story because I started Divers Clean Action when I was still a university student in Bandung. Bandung is a city that actually needs 3 or 4 hours to reach the nearest coastal, right? So at that time, I really learned about waste management issues, theory, and I realized that actually there's a lot of gap between what I learned on class and also what have been implemented on the area on coastal or islands, because my hobby is actually scuba diving. And it brings me back when I was a child, because I used to grow in one of the islands in Thousand Island, the northern part of Jakarta, Kepulauan Seribu. My dad was a head of national park there for 5 years, so I grew up loving scuba diving and also seeing by myself that the beach and also under the water is actually pretty clean. Even though I realized that, I just realized when I was in university that at that time the facility is not being implemented yet, and the behavior of the community is actually still not quite great yet. They are not aware yet about the waste issues at the time. Therefore, I go back to the islands where I grew up when I was still a university student, and I started to think that, oh my God, the places that I used to dive used to be clean. Now it's full of pile of trash, and it really, really stressed me out. And I started to, find out more about what why it's really, correlate with actually human conditions, because when we're talking about ocean trash, actually it can be microplastic, and it can actually affect our health. And I realized that there are still needs more to be done on this field. And I started my movement as a volunteer for other NGOs to make them to implement an actions in the area of Thousand Islands, but I didn't find any. Therefore, I just started my own community.
This is such a huge problem. When I say huge, I mean literally, because the ocean is huge. And I mean, where do you even start? We see programs sometimes about cleaning up beaches, but obviously for waste to wash up on shore, it had to have originated from the waters. I mean, where do you even start with something like this? It's such a vast place to work with.
Yes.
Yeah, I started in November 2015 as a community of divers to do cleanups, but it is a standardized cleanup. Where we can find out like what's the type, what's the kilograms, and also what's the brands of the waste that we found under the water and also ashores. So by meeting ashores, we also found and also sampling the waste from the community that live nearby the diving sites and also in the beach itself. And therefore, we realized that there's really big correlations between what's on there and also what's that cannot be recycled yet. Now, for example, single-use plastics. We really found a lot of that under the water. And when we realized actually lots of waste collectors, waste banks, and scavengers doesn't accept that. Therefore, it's really, really understandable that we found a lot of that on our shorelines. So those programs is actually what started our movement that grew into a foundation in 2017, and now we have thousands of volunteers across Southeast Asian countries, and we also have 12 full-time staffers in our foundation to do various works in diversity action.
That's amazing.
So Diversity Action itself, we have 4 main programs, if I may tell the story. So we do have citizen science research, and then we do community development, and also we have campaign and workshop program, and then we also collaborate with private sectors. So based on just that cleanup movements, now we grew into a platform where ocean enthusiasts, even there's some of our volunteers that are afraid of oceans also join, because they now realize that there's a connections between human health and also environment, and especially the oceans.
Absolutely. I would like to you to elaborate on that a little bit further about the correlation between human health and the health of the sea. Now, speaking of the health of the sea, how healthy or unhealthy is our sea at the moment? Just to give the public context.
At the moment, about healthiness is really, really critics, because as what mentioned before, in 2050 we will see more trash rather than fish if we don't act now. So we're looking at a ocean full of microplastics now, because I traveled around to see and sample the ocean's water, and we found a lot of microplastics there. And through our movement, Diversity in Action, we also combine and collect our volunteers' movement or actions. We call our volunteers rangers, and we promote a citizens-based research, where they can actually collect their waste data into www.marinedebris.id, where we collaborate with Indonesian Institute of Science, and we realize out of those waste that we found under the water, especially during pandemic, there's actually an increase about health, such as single-use masks, and actually single-use masks can transport the virus up to 7 days or 3 days, and it is really affecting our health eventually as well.
Right. Okay. So that's just basically bad, and we need to change then, right, Tania? So what sort of human behavior that we need to change right now in order to put our sea back to health?
At least start.
Yes.
At least start somewhere.
Yeah, we have a program where we do adopt an island or a coastal area where our biggest aim is actually to change the behavior and also to apply the innovative thinking and systemic changes to support that behavior change, to make sure that people won't throw their waste to the oceans and also to reduce the waste that they produce. And one of our programs named Save Our Ocean and Small Islands, or in instance is SOSIS. SOSIS means in English is sausage for the local community to understand more and easily remember.
Right.
And through this program, we started in Kepulauan Seribu, where we adopt 5 islands out of 11 islands that populated by 27,000 people, where we go doors to doors, knocking doors, and try to make them understand more about how to separate their waste. Because separating their waste is actually play a big important role to make sure that the recyclables can go into the industries, and also those that cannot be recycled should be reduced, and also those residuals needs to be transported and also treatment in a landfills, which actually located not in the islands itself. So we need to make sure, other than the community supports and to monitor their changes every day to separate their waste, we also try to have a multi-stakeholder forum together with the government, with the waste collectors, and even with the private sectors that can support us to increase the recycling capacity and also the community behavior and awareness. And one of the examples of collaboration with private sectors is we made refill stores on the islands. Because when we do cleanups on the underwater in the area, we find that 60% is actually single-use plastic, and most of it is sachets, like soaps and detergents and shampoos with this small sachets. And they choose that because it is actually more cheap. It's cheaper and also it's accessible for them. And when we try to make them buy bottles because it's more recyclable, they don't want that because it's more expensive, right?
Correct.
Therefore, we try to make refill stores on the island, which is accessible for them, and we successfully reduced the amount of single-use sachets per month on the island. So based on that program of SOSIS, we have the confidence that we have sort of a model on why and also how behavior change can be implemented on the area. And then we start our movement in Jakarta land, where the community is lived nearby the river. And because most of this community actually dump their waste to the river, and it goes to the oceans and then go to the Thousand Islands, right? So it's really correlated. And this program is supported by our peers in FINLA countries, which is Philippines, Sri Lanka, and also Indonesia. And now the program of SOSIS, which supported by the US government, now in Jakarta land, supported by the German government. And we try to develop this program as well with our rangers in various cities with the program called Marine Debris Rangers.
Now, Swietenia, obviously, we're watching, while we're chatting, we're watching footage of the activities that you guys are doing. You seem to have an army of people joining this cause as well. Now,
you can be one of them.
Actually, I don't know if you remember, Tania, we met a few years ago at an event in Kemang, and it was an event at a fast food place that I was hosting, but you were involved as well, obviously. And you actually invited me out to one of these, except I have a little bit of claustrophobia, so I'm a little bit scared of going underwater, but she did mention there's a lot of other things you can do as well.
Exactly.
Now, I'm sure, obviously, diving is not the only thing you can do, diving for looking for waste and cleaning up the oceans, but there's plenty of other activities. Now, is there any sort of youth training program to help teach the skills or expertise that's needed to help out with this cause?
Yeah, well, I'm still waiting with the opportunity to go travel with you some days.
Yes, it's on the docket for sure.
Yeah, but I told you earlier about the Marine Debris Rangers program, where actually is coordinated from our volunteers that we have been trained before. So before the pandemic, we have this kind of 2 years workshops where we gather youth ages 18 until 30 years old from Indonesia that representative for provinces, and also even until Southeast Asian countries with the help of U.S. Embassy Jakarta. So we brought them to Jakarta to see what we're doing here in Jakarta, to meet the experts, and also to gain the knowledge about fundraising, project management, campaign, and etc. And then by the end of the workshops, other than they really visiting the places such as the rivers and also the oceans and even the landfills, they are giving their pitch. So during that pitch, we also give them insights, and then after the workshops, they get back to their own respective area, and then they implement their program for a year. And through that programs, we realize there are a lot of opportunities and also local champions that we cannot, support them by one, and they can actually become more effective. So even though we just help them a little bit funding, therefore we try to now have 11 cities in Indonesia where we fully support these rangers to have this Marine Debris Rangers program, which is actually duplicating our program in Jakarta with a bigger funding for 6 months until 1 year with a bigger aspects. And when you're talking about how youth can involve on there, other than becoming the trainers of our programs, we can also support, other than from individual movement, of course, or actions, we can help from social media activities and campaigns. We have a lot of webinars and also talks to, giving insights to the government nationally and also internationally about how can youth actually involve in behavior change and also the solutions of marine issues. And we also open for interns. So now we have a lot of interns from Indonesia and also other countries actually.
That's perfect.
And after pandemic, maybe we can go to the eco trips program that helped by these eco trip spots all over Indonesia.
Definitely.
That's
So basically, you're not only recycling waste, but you're recycling knowledge as well.
Yeah, but and this is the thing actually. It boils down to human behavior, right? If we modify the behavior, then we will bring the changes. So, and also, Dania, you have received many accolades, from the Obama Foundation, Forbes Asia, where you made the 30 under 30 list. So what does all these accolades mean to you?
At first, I don't feel like I deserve that because I feel like environmental actions is actually something that should be done by everyone. And
Correct.
also there's tons of environmental actions that I have not yet done.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to really accept that words, but after I realized that this is actually a great platform and also endorsement for my team's movement.
Yes.
Because it gives them spirit and also, the acceptance stamp that what we do is actually matters.
Right.
And we can deliver a measurable impacts. And it's actually become inspiring for those youth that live not in the bigger city like I do.
Yes.
So it's really, really moving for me because now our impact is growing bigger and bigger. And it's open door for us to collaborate more and make bigger impacts.
I have one last question, Dania. So what is the one simple action that we all can do to preserve the environment?
Simply reduce your waste, whether it's single-use plastic or other waste, because people always growing, right?
Yes.
So we will always produce waste. But again, with the land scarcity and also the dependence of us with a fast single-use plastic thing, these single-use plastic is really, really affecting the environment and not yet can be recycled effectively. So we can start to refuse and also reduce, then we can start to recycle and join the movement. So just start small and it will lead bigger movements.
Thank you so much. You're amazing. I love you.
Thank you, Tania. And hey, remember,
Thank you.
as soon as this pandemic is over, that open invitation, I'm there.
Yes.
Let's do it.
You have a
Okay.
good day, Tania. Stay
Take care.
healthy, all right? Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you. Happy Earth Day.
Yeah.
Thanks.